So I heard there was another big Second Amendment decision by the courts. What was that?
There was back in the Fourth Circuit, which of course we're in the Ninth, but
We never hear about the Fourth.
not as much, but it's pretty important states there, Virginia and North Carolina and a couple other states. Virginia, of course, is a very important state when it comes to federal courts. It's just outside of Washington D.C. A lot of people, of course, but they just decided to in an appellate court case to strike down the ban against adults under 21 from buying a gun. So back in the 60s, when they passed, I think it was part of the 1968 Gun Act, they said, okay, you have to be, for a dealer to sell a gun to somebody, they have to be 21. They have to be 21 years old to buy a handgun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know why. And it's a really good example of when, a law passes and everyone just kind of accepts it.
But now they struck it down?
So, yeah, but there's no – what's the reason? Why can't an 18, 19, or 20-year-old get a handgun?
Yeah,
what was happening in the 60s that, they decided to limit that
were
right
sending
to
people
adults?
to Vietnam.
Well, it's the same reasoning they use. It's the same reasoning they use today. They said, well, there was a spike in crime of young people. Okay, so, yeah, young gang members, so what? So now, again, you take one tiny little fraction of 1% of an age group that's causing a problem, and you just punish everybody that way.
And people got so used to it. I don't think there was this huge, big, rash of – I don't think every 20-year-old in the country was going out and buying a handgun. And, so people got so used to it. I would bet if you go to a mall or somewhere in public and you ask people about it, it would probably be a very popular law. I would guess that most people would say, oh, yeah, of course, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds can't get a handgun.
Yeah, until you point out to them that, well, that's exactly the age that we bring them into the military and give them real guns and send them out to defend our rights to do everything else.
Right, but I think it's popular because you pass a law and people just get used to it immediately.
Well, and the other thing too is something else that 18, 19, and 20-year-olds are not is politically active.
Yeah.
So when that stuff happens to them, it's like there's not much of a reaction.
Right.
And again, that's a problem that all of us, I think, as conservatives and gun owners have. Just
So
not being active.
Being active enough. So three judges, just 2 out of 3 of them decided no, you can't limit someone's rights if they're an adult. If they're an American and an adult, then the Constitution applies to them. So if you're 18, 19, or 20, you're an adult, and we can't limit your right to keep and bear arms. We can't infringe on your right to keep and bear arms.
Is there any chance, because I don't know, are any of these judges, were they appointed by the Trump administration?
One of them was appointed by Trump, one of them was appointed by Bush, and the dissent was appointed by Obama.
Yeah, and the dissenting judge was interesting, too, because that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier before the show. And it's like the dissenting judge wrote the dissenting opinion on that. And, again, it's what I call a corrupt judge. I guess others might call them an activist judge. But, I mean, when he used terms like the gun lobby, this is another victory for the gun lobby.
You want me to read the quote real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So his quote was, "The majority's decision to grant the gun lobby a victory in a fight it lost on Capitol Hill more than 50 years ago is not compelled by law."
Whoa.
Yeah, the other thing he mentioned, too, I don't know if you have it in that quote, is he mentioned gun violence, which, again, is another political type term.
Mm-hmm.
And, the gun lobby thing I thought was interesting because I'd done research on this before when I was writing some article. But looking at the Just Facts site, if you think about the gun lobby, this is what they always talk about, the gun lobby this and the gun lobby that. Well, if you look at political contributions, there's a nice graph here, or a nice graphic from the Just Facts people. And they look at federal political contributions of interest groups from 1990 through 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest one, the leading one, is the health industry at about, $2.3 billion that they've contributed. Number 2 on the list is lawyers at $2.1 billion. And then it goes down. Number 3 is labor unions at $1.5 billion. Then you drop down the hedge funds at $676 million. And then you finally get down the books, magazines, newspapers at, $329 million. Defense industry, which you would think would be a lot bigger, is about $325 million. But you finally get to the gun rights. After all those other ones, gun rights over a 30-year period, 53 million. That's it. So that's the gun lobby.
We got to bump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
Yeah, those are serious.
We got to
looking.
10 times those. Well, okay, so this Judge James Wynn Jr., a President Barack Obama appointee, he's the one that said the majority's decision to grant the gun lobby a victory in the fight. It lost on Capitol Hill more than 50 years ago. In a fight it lost on Capitol Hill more than 50 years ago. This guy doesn't understand his role. And where I was going when I was saying, hey, you know, I think it's probably a popular law. I think it's that the majority of Americans would probably say, yeah, let's make it illegal for people under 21, adults under 21 to purchase a handgun. But that's the point of the court, is they're not judging how popular something is.
Right.
It's not a contest to see, well, gee, if most Americans want this, therefore I'm going to support it as a judge. No, slavery was really popular. You know, a lot of people really liked that law.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't matter. What matters is it's unconstitutional. So he's completely and totally missing the point. A fight it lost on Capitol Hill more than 50 years ago doesn't matter. He's not here to judge whether or not, you know, the legislation is unpopular or how long it's been around or whatever, who won or lost a fight. It doesn't matter. What matters is it constitutional?
Yeah.
And this guy completely dropped the ball.
Wow. I wonder if he realizes it.
Yeah, of course he realizes.
Yeah, they know that. Again, that's part of being an activist judge, and
Yeah.
that's, you know, one side tends to do that a lot more than the other side.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, he said epidemic of gun violence. So meanwhile, Congress stands at a partisan deadlock over numerous gun control proposals backed mostly by Democrats, as President Joe Biden has issued executive orders and taken other actions to combat what he calls epidemic of gun violence. I thought that was the judge again, but here's why this is important. Let's say you're a staunch Second Amendment supporter. Let's say you're a gun owner. Let's say you're a member of San Diego County Gun Owners, and you're in the fight right there. But maybe you do kind of think, well, I don't know, maybe someone who's 19, 20 years old, maybe they shouldn't own a handgun. Maybe that is an okay law. Why are we so excited about this decision? Why are we so why is it so important to your rights? Say you're not 21, you know, or I'm sorry, you're not under 21. Mm-hmm. Why is this so important? Well, it's basically saying, hey, look, this isn't a second class right. You know, this is a right just like any other right. So just because it has to do with guns and some people decide that, hey, guns are not my thing, that doesn't mean you get to restrict it.
Yeah.
You're still it's an affirmation that, hey, this is a civil right. This is a human right.
Right. I mean, if you don't like asparagus, that doesn't mean nobody can have asparagus.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, again, it's an arbitrary group, too. You've picked 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. So is there anything to say that, okay, you know what, once you hit 65, you really can't have a handgun anymore? You know, it's the same kind of
it's the
thing.
same thing.
If you commit down that path, I mean, there's all sorts of other things you could do. You should have precedent now.
Well, and you don't have anybody beating the gun store's door down from the age of 18 to 21 wanting to buy a gun. I don't think you have. So, I mean, it's more of just honoring the law.
Well, I'll tell you. So this case was, her name just fell out of my head, and I feel really bad about that. But this case, the main plaintiff in the case was a 19-year-old woman who was being hurt and attacked by her spouse. This was a domestic violence case.
She wanted a gun.
So she wanted a gun to protect herself, specifically from an abusive ex-boyfriend. So it wasn't a husband; it was an ex-boyfriend. 19-year-old woman who had a protective order against an abusive ex-boyfriend.
Not worth the paper.
Had a piece of paper, and I wish I could remember her name. I'm so sorry, I can't remember your name. I said it. I was sure to talk about it at the KUSI interview that we did on Friday about this. But I'm sure she's a lovely woman, and I'm so proud that she
got
stood
tired
up.
of getting beat up.
She got tired of getting beat up, decided, hey, I'm going to defend myself, protect myself. But then when she found that her rights were being trampled, she didn't stop there. She said, you know what? This isn't right. I'm going to file a lawsuit. And it went, it's all the way into the, appellate court. Of course, it's going to go, it's probably going to have to go further. Probably going to rehear it in front of more judges in the circuit there.
Yeah, but she's a good spokesperson just for that law.
I just think it's great, but it's important. This isn't simply a victory for the gun lobby. This judge voted that this 19-year-old, that it's morally superior that she gets beaten than it is for her to be able to defend herself.
Yeah. Well, it's no different than people that are not vaccinated or killers.
Say
You
again?
haven't heard that?
Oh, yeah, that's true. The latest Biden
the latest
proclamation.
Biden-
Oh, the people. Wow.
If you're not vaccinated, you're a killer, and you're killing people. I mean, it's the same. It's the same mentality, really, when you
ridiculous.
come right down to it.
Yeah.
Of course, puts us right in the same group with Facebook because they're killers too.
Yeah, they're
now,
killers,
according to Biden.
You didn't hear that, huh?
No, I didn't hear that either.
Oh yeah, he did it very well. I give him credit. And everybody, you could hear a gasp in the room. All his handlers and all of his people in the back. What did he just?
Oh,
say?
was it? This is another a Bidenism when he went off script. And
Oh yeah,
I'll have to check
I
that out.
love it when he goes off script. I mean, I would almost send him $1 every time he goes off script because it's crazy.
Yeah, he didn't whisper this one. That would have been a nice touch if he'd have
No,
whispered
he didn't
this.
whisper this time.
Just jumped right out there
Yeah,
with it.
he just jumped right out there with it.
Well, it's and what's something we're going to talk about later in the show. There's a lot of pluses and a lot of minuses when it comes to your gun rights. This was definitely a plus,
yeah.
even though we're under
A siege.
under the worst, anti-gun president that we've ever had.
So,
Yeah.
so what happened on that? Just to follow up on that ruling. So, so the court, it was a three panels of judges, and they ruled in favor of that.
Yep.
And where does it go now?
So now it gets kicked back down to the lower court. But basically, what's most like there's a couple things that could happen, and we're familiar with this out in California. They could have an en banc, which means that it would rehear the case in front of all the judges.
Oh yeah.
See if you can get a bigger group of activist judges together.
Yeah, but I think it's like 20. And I'm not really familiar with the Fourth Circuit. I don't know how they normally are.
We'll get in touch with Dylan and find out what that skinny is.
But yeah, it's not done yet. And of course, there's a case out here, the Jones case, same case, adults under the age of 21 trying to buy a gun. So
So
Meanwhile,
same
she-
process as we'd go through out here, just
Yeah.
different numbers.
but
probably.
meanwhile, she still can't get a gun,
no, she cannot.
and she's got this doorknob out there harassing her.
That's my understanding.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.